Hi there, my name is Megan Diarmid, and I'm the coordinator of chapter services for Pi Lambda Phi fraternity. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Event Planning 101 and how to best utilize events during recruitment. We're going to go over how to choose a great event, preparing for those events, executing the event, what to do after the event, and how to best utilize the time in between those events. We're also going to talk about some common mistakes that can easily be avoided. So what makes a great event? A great event is enjoyable and fun. There's opportunity for meaningful interactions with multiple brothers. It's something different than what's already being experienced by visiting other fraternities on campus. And also there's a feeling that you're connecting on a deeper level through the conversations you have and the questions you ask. A great event is cost effective. Think about the money you invest in the event. How many new members list this event as a significant factor in them joining? How much did the event cost compared to the number of men that joined? Definitely utilize the events that got the most popular feedback in previous years. Also, make sure to vary the topic and point of the event. Having multiple events of the same style or category is a lot less exciting. You form the deepest connection to people by having a variety of shared experiences, not just the same experience and the same conversation on repeat. Some examples of great events are bowling, because it's interactive and fun, there's downtime for talking, and it's usually pretty cost effective. Attending a baseball game is another great event. You can go to a pro or minor league game, or even your university's team might have a game on campus. There's significant downtime for talking. It can also be cost effective if cheaper tickets are purchased in bulk. Indoor rock climbing is another great idea. It's interactive and it enables you to see how PNMs respond to new challenges. A dinner is always great because free food is very popular among first-year students, and it provides a notable amount of time to talk. Alumni nights allow PNMs to see the connection of fraternities with networking. The same event could incorporate free food, and it also enables alumni to talk about how fraternity life can be impactful in the future. A Q&A night with brothers could be questions about the brothers or about the fraternity or their experiences or both. It enables PNMs to ask any and all questions, which creates more confidence in their decision-making process, and it creates more connections with brothers. A service event enables a chapter to see which PNMs actually care about service and will willingly volunteer their time for something other than social reasons. It's a great opportunity to introduce PNMs to the philanthropy and different service elements of the fraternity. A team building activity with PNMs and brothers is interactive, and it enables brothers to evaluate the problem solving and teamwork skills of the PNMs. There are a few events that might be worth avoiding. Movie nights, for example, offer a lower amount of conversation. PNMs may not come at all based on the movie either. Same with video games. PNMs may be limited on how many brothers can participate in the type of game. Not everyone would be able to play, and therefore it wouldn't be that interactive. Poker nights aren't great because it might influence the number of people who attend if they're not familiar with or interested in poker. Sports, same thing. If they're not interested in the sport, they might not come. Parties could be a potential violation of university and fraternity policies that can result in significant sanctions if alcohol is included. Generally, these are all good events to avoid doing during your recruitment season. So you've picked your event, you're ready to go, you're leading up to it. Now what? It's time to assign your duties and your roles. Oftentimes, these roles can be logistics coordinators, people who are great at making conversation with new faces, and also those brothers who are really good at bringing PNMs to see why Pi Lambda Phi might be the best choice for them. You also need to remind PNMs to come to the event. Your campus may have different ways of publicizing events, but utilize flyers, social media, your website, or even word of mouth. You also want to make sure you gather the right supplies. So have a checklist for each event, whether you need food or supplies for an activity, name tags, roles, grade release forms, anything like that that you would need for an event on your campus. Also, make sure you do some training with your brothers. Review with them things they should bring up in conversation and should be able to answer. So frequently asked questions by PNMs. Make sure every brother is prepared to answer those questions. Make sure that all brothers understand and can tell PNMs the values of Pi Lambda Phi and how those are lived out by the chapter. Make sure they're able to bring up specific stories and instances. Also, make sure you're reviewing your campus's recruitment schedules and expectations of attendance for brothers. Also, be prepared to produce resources, tangibles that PNMs can take home with them. This can include informational folders, marketing flyers, and handouts, brother testimonial booklets, anything like that that would give PNMs more information than they might not have thought to ask. Also, be sure to update your chapter's online presence. So if this is a website or your social media, make sure that that is up to date with recent and current pictures of your brothers. Your online media may also be able to include information about each recruitment event that you're hosting. So date, location, time, what to wear, things like that. And also make sure you're publicizing that these PNMs bring a friend with them. So you've prepped for the event. Now it's time to execute it. During the event, make sure your control team has picked up the food, has organized the name tags, takes pictures, manages the names list, gets grade release forms signed, and things like that. Also, make sure there's a sign-in sheet available. At the very least, collect the names and phone numbers of the people that attend. That way you can add them to your names list and follow up after the event is over. You may want to have a questionnaire available that saves yourself some time, and instead of asking them basic questions, they can fill out the questionnaire with basic information that you can load into your names list. These questions could include anything from name, class year, hometown, GPA, likes and interests, to their major, why they want to be Greek, or if they have family that is Greek, campus involvement, things like that. Also, be sure to take pictures at your event. Get photos of guys enjoying the events and then add them to your social media page. This can drum up a lot more interest for future events. And without being creepy, if you can or if you want, you could take a nice smiling headshot of each guy. This can be added to your names list so brothers can begin to put faces to names and then be able to say hi to them when they see them on campus. Also, be sure that brothers know their previously discussed roles at these events. Some conversation tips that might be helpful is the +1 theory. This is to always ensure that there is a +1 ratio when talking with PNMs. So if you have one PNM, you need to have 2 brothers there to chat. 2 PNMs means 3 brothers, 3 PNMs means 4 brothers, and so on. So why is the +1 rule important? It's because when conversation stalls between a brother and a PNM, the other brother can interject and pick up the conversation. Trust me, it alleviates so much awkwardness if there are 2 brothers and 1 PNM. One-on-one can get very awkward very fast. It also helps to keep the PNM focused and maintains his attention span if he's continually changing his focus between 2 brothers. Another really good tip to have in your back pocket is bridging. So when you're talking with a PNM and listening to him share information about himself, so his likes and his interests, his hobbies, his major, hometown, things like that, you should be thinking about what you're going to do after you've spoken to him. Who is the next brother you want to introduce him to? It should be a guy who the PNM might have a natural connection to. So someone who also shares the same interests or major or campus involvement or hometown. You can actually say, I'd like to introduce you to one of our brothers. You have some things in common. Follow me and I'll introduce you. And then when you get to your brother, you might say, hey, I wanted to introduce you to each other because you share something in common. And as it turns out, da-da-da-da-da. I figured you two might enjoy getting to know each other. So before you walk away, share some of the key things you remember from your conversation with the PNM so that the brother has some other talking points to discuss with the PNM. This also shows the PNM that you were listening and paying attention, which is huge. It will make him feel valued and welcome and respected, and he might find his place in the fraternity. Also, be sure to have openers and closers. Make sure you do this when you're assigning duties. Good events have both a strong opening and closing speech by select brothers. So think of the brothers who might be really good at getting up in front of a group and talking about why they joined the fraternity and what Pi Lam means to him. So in your opening, make sure you welcome PNMs to the event, have that brother tell his story, and then make sure you also switch the brother every evening so PNMs hear a different guy each time and they hear all these stories of the way the fraternity has impacted these men. And in your closing, thank the PNMs for coming, remind them of upcoming events for the remainder of the week, and then remind them of any needed information, whether you gave them that questionnaire or you need their name and phone number for something or their school ID, things like that. And then walk them to the door, say thank you very much, thanks for coming, and then we'll move into the after the event. Make sure you recap with your brothers to discuss what went well and what didn't logistically. Also, you make sure that you recap PNMs and update your names list. Have a brother specifically assigned to add notes to the names list in real time. Share information about upcoming events with your brothers. Make sure you include your time, location, and details so that everyone is there on time and ready to go. Remind brothers that they can connect with PNMs on social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that. And then also determine which brothers are going to follow up with those PNMs about future events. A really important time that is often overlooked in the recruitment process is what happens in between formal recruitment events. So have an informal event after your formal event if you want. Some chapters invite PNMs to come back 30 minutes after the formal event ends, and then they'll all go out to eat informally. They say like 30 minutes or so that the Brotherhood can have an opportunity to do their post-event recap. Throughout the week, you can also have lunch or coffee with PNMs. Everyone eats, so why not do it together? And allow yourself to have more one-on-one time together to get to know the PNM even better. Or bring a friend or a brother who hasn't met that PNM yet, so that you can begin to establish more relationships and more bonds and have better conversations. Sometimes I think people are worried about what those one-on-one meals might look like because they don't know what to talk about or that they could be awkward. There's a lot to talk about over a meal. You can ask the PNM what questions they still have and make sure you're very open and candid with them. If they have fraternity-related questions, you can also ask them what he has enjoyed about the process so far, or what he's most looking for in a fraternity experience, or what skills and benefits he feels he would bring to the fraternity. And if you want to get personal, you can ask him about his hometown or how he's transitioning to college so far, what his classes are like. Feel free to talk about more than just the chapter because Brotherhood spans far beyond what's going on in the chapter. Also, make sure you're updating your names list continually throughout the week. There should be a tremendous amount of activity with PNMs, and it's critical that your brothers are continually updating the notes within the names list with new information through interactions with each PNM. Lastly, encourage your PNMs to bring roommates or other friends to future events. This will really, really up the number of men that you get to introduce to your Brotherhood and potentially increase the number of men that accept a bid. So there are some common mistakes that we really should try to avoid. Don't invest in an event with poor ROI. Tons of money to execute, but not a lot of PNMs or not a lot of time to interact with PNMs could be really harmful to your recruitment. Remember, you have to consider that the money you invest in the event compared to how many new members joined as a result of the event. You have to remember that that is huge. How much did the event cost compared to the number of men that joined? Also, stop investing in things that support recruitment but have little ROI. There's nothing wrong with having a recruitment shirt, but no one ever joined a fraternity because of a shirt. Unless you have money to blow and you're exceeding all of your recruitment goals, the hundreds of dollars you spend on shirts could probably be spent on something else, more likely to actually get men to accept bids. Remember that Pi Lambda Phi has so much good going for it, so many amazing things it's doing throughout communities and throughout the world. Sell Pi Lam that way. If you want to get shirts that match, that's awesome, and I'm sure you'll look great. But make sure that you're using your money for things that can potentially get men to accept bids and want to join the Brotherhood, not just because they want a shirt that looks like yours. Don't rely only on the recruitment events. Remember that the in-between times are just as important, and utilize those times to eat with people who might not have been outgoing enough at the recruitment events to start up a conversation. Not engaging with the PNM while at events and making them feel not welcomed or unvalued might be a really big issue. You want to make sure that the PNMs feel welcome and that they have a place among you. And lastly, it's terrible to look disorganized as a chapter. You don't want men to be turned off by the fraternity just because of poor logistical management at events. Make sure you're organized and you're ready to go when events are ready to start so that you can put on your best face for PNMs. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at megan.darmit@pilambdaphi.org. I'd love to talk to you about event ideas or any questions that you have.